Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens, and we are back for another edition of One on One, episode 158 of One on One here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. What a week it has been. A lot has went down this past weekend in the NFL. We've got our conference championships. This is the Championship Sunday edition of One on One, where we're going to give you everything leading up into it. Who's going to win? The power rankings heading into this weekend, where I see the team stand. There's a lot going on this week, but it's a very exciting week. And because a certain team won, your boys heading to the NFC Championship game to represent the amazing Bowie Television, along with my colleague, Candy Waller. We're gonna bring you the best coverage possible for Bowie Television on Sunday. So we're very excited about that, and to see if the Commanders can bring home the NFC Championship and punch a ticket into the Super Bowl. There's so much to get into. But let's go ahead and get this party started. Episode 158 of 101 starts now. One. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to One-on-One at Legacy Maker Sports Network. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here, episode 158 of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Look, what a weekend we had in sports. We've got our Sunday, we have our conference championships ready to roll. We got Championship Sunday about to hit us strong here with 4 teams looking to punch tickets into the Super Bowl in New Orleans. And so we're going to get over, we're going to get into all of the games last weekend, who's going on, who's moving on. If you don't know by now, then you've been obviously sleeping under a rock, but that's okay. I'm here to at least give you that little bit of information as we go along in this process. But, shout out to everybody who's been, following the Bowie Television and following our coverage of this year's playoffs. Shout out to my girl, Karita Parks, who's been killing it with the Ravens. Unfortunately, Ravens season a little bit short, but she's done an amazing job. So shout out to her. And of course, myself and Candy Waller covering the Commanders. It has been a wild ride. We've been on the road for the last like month. Since my birthday, Sexiest Day of the year, we've been to New Orleans, Dallas, Tampa, Detroit. So 4 spots within the last month. And 2 home games are stuck in there. So since that time frame, we've seen the Commanders kind of go on a streak. They've been rolling. The last loss happened right before Thanksgiving, and that was the Dallas. Since then, they've beaten the Titans, the Saints, the Eagles, the Falcons, the Cowboys, the Bucks, and now Detroit. So that's a 7-game winning streak right now for the Washington Commanders, and you can tell the energy is high. But let's get into everything. Let's talk about your boy record, and it ain't pretty, y'all. It was bad last week. First of all, 4-6 in the playoffs. It's like the worst record I've had in the playoffs in a minute, like at least at this point in time. But for 4-6, I only won 1 game last week, and that was the only game that I got right was the Chiefs. The other 3 games, I got all of them wrong. Every single one of them. I went 3-3 the week before. So who knows? Maybe I can go 2-0 this week to at least bump it back to 6-6, and then see how the Super Bowl do. But I'm going to have to win out in order to have a winning record here for the playoffs. But it ain't looking pretty, y'all. Just gonna throw that out there right now. Now let's talk about last weekend. In the last weekend, we saw 4 teams advance. Maybe one surprise, one big surprise. With that being said. But let's talk about that first game. Kansas City taking on Houston. at Arrowhead, and it was a really good matchup in the beginning of this one. We saw uh, a Kansas City team, slowly but surely doing what they're doing all year. They've been kind of like lingering around. Teams have been in these games with Kansas City, but the Chiefs always and have been able to always find a way to pull it out. And we saw a little bit of that also on this past Saturday. And we saw, Patrick Mahomes maybe not had the prettiest day, but, 16 for 25, 177 yards and a touchdown. Kelsey had a really good day, 7 receptions for 117 of those 177 yards from Pat and a touchdown. They didn't really do anything super duper special. But they just do what they've been doing all year. They played solid football and finding a way to win. Now, some people will say that's the referees. I'm not saying that's the referees. I'm saying the referees are giving them all the calls. But, that's how it is. Once you become, the popular team, once you become the team that wins multiple championships. I mean, I've seen it in my lifetime a whole bunch of times. They say the referees give you calls. We've seen it with the Bulls in the 90s. We've seen it at the Lakers in the early 2000s. We saw it with the Spurs in their early 2000 reign. So, and in the NFL, we've seen it with the Patriots. Now we're seeing it with the Chiefs, and everybody said, well, like the referees are giving preferential treatment. I think it's a little bit of that, but I think it's also a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I think that, there are times where you've earned, I'm not going to say you earn it. Well, maybe I shouldn't say it that way, but some people feel like maybe these players get to a point where they think they've earned a certain respect and, certain calls, and maybe the players are getting protected. You say whatever you want, no matter what. There's ways to stop that. And you got to go out there and find a way to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Texans had a shot. They just couldn't pull it off, losing 23-14. And, once again, the Chiefs find themselves at home in the AFC Championship game. That'll be a fun thing to see. Now, on Sunday, who will they play? Well, Sunday, the late game, we saw the Bills and the Ravens. And the Bills held on tight to get the win over the Ravens 27-25. Now, this game had a lot of, back and forth. We saw Buffalo get off to a really good start. At halftime, they were up 21-10, and it was looking good for them. Then the Ravens battled back, pushed themselves, and made it a 2-point game. It was 21-19 at the end of the third. Lamar Jackson, had, a little bit of a tough day from certain perspectives. They've had some issues of holding on to the football. He went 18 for 25, 254, 2 touchdowns and a pick. But, a lot of people say it's his fault that they lost this game. A lot of people are putting the blame on Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews had a little bit of a rough day. And the biggest roughness of it all, of the thing that kind of, derailed whatever he had going on, the biggest thing was the missed 2-point conversion opportunity. He was open. The ball hit him. He had it in his hand. It bobbled, and it went to the ground, giving Buffalo the victory and have them move on to take on the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game this week. And, I think this game still could have went either way, and we saw 2 guys who are in the MVP race. Either one of them could win it. You wouldn't be upset. Well, you shouldn't be upset if either one of them win the MVP this year. I have a strong feeling this could be one of those co-MVP years. You got to watch out for Saquon because he could sneak into that as well. But this could be a co-MVP year. So you really got to watch out to see how that plays out. But anyway, with all that being said, we saw a Ravens team that had their shot, and they could not tie it up when they needed to tie it up the most. Even after all the toughness that they had to go through the game, all of the tribulations that they had to go through during this game, they were still, it was still a good game, and Buffalo was able to sneak it. And so Ravens fans got a bitter taste in their mouth. I've seen some fans, earlier today saying, "Oh, Lamar and the Ravens are becoming the Dallas Cowboys," and I know I know some people don't want to hear that out there, but I won't say that about this Ravens team. But they do have to figure some things out because they've been on the cusp for years, And it feels like one of those teams that are really good, but when you have maybe one or two teams that just stand in your way. And for the Ravens, at this point, it's been Buffalo. That's happened, I think, a couple of years ago. Buffalo beat the Ravens in the playoffs, and if I'm wrong about that, beat me up later. And then, Kansas City. And so now we'll see the rematch from earlier this season where the Chiefs and the Bills will take on each other. The Bills won that game. Now, if you look in the playoffs ghost pass, they can't beat them. Like the Buffalo Bills have not been able to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. They had a chance at that dramatic home game a couple years ago in the divisional round where they went back and forth, and Kansas City won it at the very end. So that's going to be an electrifying matchup. Now, swinging over to the NFC, the Saturday game. Your boy was at that game. Man, what a game this was. Commanders and Lions. The Commanders winning 45-31. 45-31 in this game. And if you'd have told me that was a score and you said the Lions had won, I would have believed you 1,000%. If you hadn't checked any of the things over the weekend, over the last couple of days, you'd have been like, nah, no way. But look, this Commanders team is different. And for them to come into Detroit as loud as it was, and your boy was there. Your boy was on the field. I heard everything. It was loud in there. Loudest building I've ever been in. I heard the rumors coming in that it was one of the loudest buildings you go into. It was definitely one of the loudest. Your boy should have brought some earplugs. Didn't do it. And I'm not going to say I regret it, but it was definitely loud in there, and the energy was crazy. I'll show you a couple of pictures before I continue to talk about the game. But, at the beginning of the game, it started off, with the Lions, looking like the Lions. They were on a roll. They were doing really good things, and they just looked like they were in prime control to do what they needed to do. But the Commanders just never gave up. And every time you thought maybe it was going to be out of the Commanders' reach, you saw, a Commanders player make a play. If it wasn't, De'Ami Brown, or if it wasn't Quan Martin who was making a great play, or just the Commanders' defense as a whole, Frankie Louvu coming up with the big fumble recovery after Dorrance Armstrong strip sacked Jared Goff. And these are the type of things that happen throughout. Let me not forget Mikey's. I already said Mikey. Yes, call him Mikey because I hate saying Sarah still, and I know I'm saying it wrong now. But Mikey was just amazing. The 2 interceptions. He's been making a strong case for Rookie of the Year. He probably won't get it because it's a little later now, and it's the postseason, and then they'll probably give that to Jared Verse. But man, the year that Mikey has had, Sarah Steele has had an amazing year. So shout out to Mikey and all of the great things that he has done. He's just been an absolute monster this year. And of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Jaden Daniels. I mean, this game was just a masterpiece for Washington. I mean, if they play like this, it's going to be hard to beat them. If they play like this, it's going to be hard to beat them. Jaden Daniels went 22 for 31, 299 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Brian Robinson came back to life with 15 carries and 77 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Jeremy McNichols, he got in the end zone on the day. Terry McLaurin broke loose on a screen pass and took that bad boy. I think it was 71 yards. But it was 58 yards. So he went 58 yards on a screen pass and broke a couple of tackles and took it in the end zone. Just amazing work. Zach Ertz got into the touchdown business during the game. And another guy who just had themselves just an amazing game was De'Ami Brown. De'Ami was just making plays. And this catch that he made, the infamous catch where the player, that might have been, I don't know if that's it was the Joseph got his hand all in his face and he still makes the catch. Just an amazing play by De'Ami Brown. And, watching the Commanders, as they said, left hand up, who are we, the Commanders? Those guys heading to the NFC Championship game. So shout out to the Lions. Well, shout out to the Lions for a good season, but I know they're hurting right now. Shout out to the Commanders for what they were able to do in this game and really put the fear in a lot of teams. Like, they don't know how to really approach this team, and we're going to see if they can continue that magic this week when they take on the winner of the other game that happened. This one, it was on Sunday, the early game at 3:00. That was the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Los Angeles Rams, and that's where we saw the Philadelphia Eagles win a 28-22 battle at home, and it was a really good game. It was back and forth. LA just made too many mistakes. They had a couple small mistakes that kind of, hurt them. And the fumble by Kyron Williams, I think that one really hurt. They had some really good moments where they could have done some really good things and maybe put this game away. There were some drops, but you got to expect that in that snow. It's hard to be perfect in the snow. Mistakes are going to be made, but it was just maybe just too many. And it wasn't a lot, but I just said too many. So the couple of mistakes they did, but it was just too many for the Rams. And the Rams still had a chance towards the end. They were driving down the field with a chance to ruin all of Philly's dreams. And Philly came up big defensively, and they ended up winning 28-22. With this game, Jalen Hurts, not the best of days. 15 for 20, 128 yards passing. But Saquon Barkley. 26 carries, 206 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He has been worth every bit of the money that the Philadelphia Eagles spent on him in the offseason. Every bit of the money. If you don't think he was, then you tripping. He has been worth every bit of the money. Every little single dime, every penny that the Eagles paid for him. He's been amazing. 205 yards rushing in this playoff game in the snow, including this monster run where he took off and went 78 yards for a touchdown in the snow. And people, if you haven't played in the snow, it's a different monster. And what he was able to do was quite special. So shout out to the Eagles. They'll be hosting the NFC Championship game this week. They will be hosting the NFC Championship game this week at 3:00. That'll be the first game on Championship Sunday. They'll take on the Commanders. So this will be the third time these teams have played each other. First matchup in Philly went to the Eagles. I believe it was 26-18. And if I got that wrong, yell at me later. But it was around 26-18. I was at the game, but the game started to blur in a little bit. But it was 26-18, and we saw this Eagles team really do some really good things at the very end of the game, because it was a tight game all the way through, and then Saquon Barkley scored like 2 touchdowns in the last couple of minutes, and the Eagles won that first one, and that was kind of the downfall of the Commanders winning the division, because they lost 3 straight games, losing to Pittsburgh, losing to the Eagles, and of course losing to Dallas. That was that little funk hurt Washington's chance to win in the division, but Washington did get revenge in December and got the win at home on a last second touchdown throw from Jaden Daniels to Jamison Crowder. And, yes, Jalen was hurt in that game, but Kenny Pickett played good football in that game. Their defense, the Eagles defense, let them down in that contest. But we got round 3 coming up with a trip to go to the Super Bowl on the line in that 3 p.m. game. That's going to be a fun one. And I'm very honored to have the opportunity to be there to cover it, and it's going to be great. And myself and Candy Waller, we're going to do the best to bring you the best coverage for Bowie Television. Now, on the AFC side of things, of course, we got the number 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Buffalo Bills. We've seen this matchup a couple of times before. We've seen it in the AFC Championship game. We've seen it in the divisional game. The question now is, can the Bills get the monkey off their back? That is going to be the question at hand. Can they get the monkey off their back in this matchup? That's gonna be what we all want to know. Can they find a way to beat Kansas City and get back to the Super Bowl for the 5th time in their franchise history? And maybe, who knows, maybe win it this time. Is that something that can happen? We're going to find out. We are going to find out. Now, before I give you my winners and curse the 2 teams that I pick, and I probably should have went the opposite way just because I wanted this one. But my power rankings heading into Championship Sunday. Number 4, the Washington Commanders. Yes. But when you get this far, you're great. So you can't, yes, I got them at 4, but it's because of the experience and, you know, a little bit more of the talent that they got on those other ends for those other teams. And it's just going to be it's going to be really tough for Washington. Can they do it? Heck yeah, they can. Or as my girl Janine Samuel says, hell yeah. Yeah, it can be done. So it'll be fun to see if Washington can pull it off on Sunday. Got the Commanders at number 4. Number 3, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have a good football team, but there are some questions at quarterback right now with Jalen Hurts and that injury. His knee went back a weird way during that game, but they were still able to, pull it off, win the game. But it was still weird. I didn't like the way it looked, but they were able to hold off with the greatness that is Saquon Barkley. They're at 3. At 2, the Buffalo Bills. I would love to put Buffalo at 1, but until they can prove that they can beat Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, it's hard for me to go against the champs. The champs are looking to do something that has never happened before, and that is three-peat. Buffalo is just trying to get back to the Super Bowl for the first time since the 90s. And they're also just trying to get over that hump. They are trying to get the monkey off their back and beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs and go to the Super Bowl to take on either the Commanders or the Eagles. So Bills at 2, Chiefs at 1. Those are my power rankings heading into Championship Sunday. All right, here it is. Here's my picks. I got them wrong last year. Let's hope I don't get them wrong this year. There it is. I got the rematch from the Super Bowl back in 1991, where the Bills took on the Washington Redskins at the time, the Commanders, the Washington football franchise, however you want to put it, and Washington ended up winning that one, and we saw Mark Ripken become the Super Bowl MVP. For your boy, this is something that I think really can happen. The Eagles are a really good football team, and if they win this game, I will not be surprised whatsoever. But I just think that Washington they're rolling. 7 straight wins, including a win over the Eagles. They haven't lost a game since November, and they've been cooking, and they're playing the best football that they've played all season right now. The defense has stepped up. Yes, they did drop 31 points, but by that time they were up by so much it almost didn't matter. And so this team knows how to put up points. They can win close games, and they can win blowout games. We've seen both. We've seen blowout games. We've seen them win tight games. We've seen them win high-scoring affairs. We've seen all of that. So I'm intrigued to see how that goes. Then, also the Bills. I think this is the time that Josh Allen gets over the hump. And they've got to find a way to do it. They just got to find a way to do it. But I think they can do it. It is going to be tough. But if you can win this game in Kansas City in the playoffs, it's going to be hard to not have you as the favorite to win the Super Bowl. But I got the Bills and the Washington Commanders. That is a Super Bowl I want to see. And I'm probably jinxing it by saying it, but anybody but KC. And it's not because I don't like Patrick Mahomes. I just want to see something different. That's just what it comes down to. All right, everybody, that's it. Episode 158 of 101 is in the books. Championship Sunday this weekend. I hope everybody kind of sits back, gets a chance to enjoy Championship Sunday. I will be traveling to Philly. It has been a long month. Your boy has been to quite a bit of states. We've been to Dallas, and we've been to Texas, been to Louisiana, been to Florida. Just got back from Michigan, and now heading to Pennsylvania. I feel like I'm on a presidential campaign trying to figure everything out. But we're gonna see. We're gonna see who is going to be able to bring home the NFC and the AFC championship. And when I come back to you next week, we will preview the Super Bowl. And then I won't be back until after Super Bowl week. I'll be back to bring you the recap to finish off the season, this NFL season of 101. So that'll be episode 160. And then we'll take a little bit of a break, unless I change my mind. But for now, we'll probably take our break as we get ready for our interview portions, which will happen again in June. But once again, everybody, I truly appreciate you all, and thank you all for tuning in for another episode of 101. I hope you enjoy. I know these ones are a little bit quicker than the normal ones because of the playoffs, but good luck to if your teams are still in the mix. I shout out to my brothers. I got my brother Perky, aka Purcell, who is an Eagles fan. I got my other two brothers, Perry and and Purnell, along with my dad, who are all Commanders fans. And so it's a battle in the Owens household to see who's going to go to the Super Bowl. I guess we'll find out this weekend. Once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in for episode 158 of 101 here on the Legacy Makers Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. We will see you all next time. One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.